"Can I show you a photo?" said the girl. The CEO cried when he saw who was in it. Michael Anderson was having another normal day at work when his assistant Jennifer knocked on the door with a strange expression on her face. The powerful CEO of one of the largest construction companies in Massachusetts never imagined his routine would be completely turned upside down by an unexpected visitor. "Mr. Michael, there's a little girl here who insists on speaking with you," said Jennifer, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. "She says she has something very important to show you." Michael looked up from the documents he was signing, annoyed by the interruption. At 45 years old, he had built a business empire based on discipline and total focus on his work. He didn't have time for childish games. "A little girl? How old is she?" he asked without stopping his signing. "She seems to be about 6 years old, sir. She's alone and very determined. I tried to explain that you were busy, but she won't leave." Michael sighed deeply. His day was already full of important meetings and this interruption was not in his plans. But something about the child's insistence sparked his curiosity. "All right, send her in. But let her know I only have 5 minutes," he said, putting the documents away in the drawer. When the door opened again, a small figure entered timidly. The girl had curly hair tied into 2 little braids and wore a simple but clean dress. In her small hands she held firmly onto an envelope yellowed with age. "Hello, sir," she said in a sweet voice, but there was a seriousness in her eyes that struck Michael. "Hello, little one. What's your name?" he asked, trying to be kind despite being in a hurry. "I'm Emily. I came here because I really need to talk to you," she replied, walking towards his desk with determined steps. Michael leaned forward, intrigued by the child's maturity. There was something familiar about her features that he couldn't quite place. "And what is so important that a girl your age needs to talk to me about?" he asked, genuinely curious now. Emily looked directly into his eyes and said the words that would change everything. "Can I show you a photo?" Before Michael could answer, the girl had already carefully opened the envelope and taken out an old photograph. She handed it to him with both small hands, as if it were a precious treasure. Michael took the photo without giving it much thought, expecting to see perhaps a child's drawing or something similar, but when his eyes focused on the image, the world seemed to stop. In the faded photograph, he saw his own face but 20 years younger, hugging a young woman with curly hair who was smiling radiantly. It was Rebecca, his younger sister, who had disappeared from his life exactly 20 years ago after a devastating family argument. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like the video and especially to subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Tears began to stream down Michael's face uncontrollably. His hands trembled as he held the photo, and for a moment he completely forgot where he was. Where did you get this?" he asked, his voice choked. "It's a photo of my mommy," replied Emily, watching his reaction carefully. "She said you are my Uncle Michael." The shock was like a lightning bolt. Michael felt his legs go weak and had to lean on his chair. Rebecca had a daughter. He had a niece and never knew. "Your mother, where is she?" he managed to ask. "She's very sick," said Emily, and for the first time her voice trembled. "That's why I came here. Grandma Dorothy said that maybe you could help." Grandma Dorothy. Michael remembered Mariana's mother immediately, a simple woman who had always treated his sister with great affection when they were children. After the fight that tore the family apart, he had never heard from her again. "Jennifer!" Michael shouted, making his secretary appear at the door immediately. "Cancel all my meetings today, all of them. But, sir, you have the project presentation for the German investors in 2 hours." "I said all of them, Jennifer," he repeated, drying his eyes with the back of his hand. Michael turned his attention to Emily, who was watching him with a mixture of hope and fear in her eyes. "Tell me everything, sweetie. Where is your mother? What happened to her?" Emily pulled up a chair and sat down, clearly relieved to have finally gotten his attention. "Mommy works at a bakery in the Riverside neighborhood. Or she worked, right? Because now she can't get out of bed anymore," she began, speaking slowly so as not to forget any important details. She's been coughing a lot and losing weight for 3 months. Grandma Dorothy took her to the clinic, but the medicine didn't help. Michael felt his chest tighten with every word. His sister, whom he remembered as a young woman full of life and dreams, was sick, and he had no idea. "And where exactly do you live?" "At Grandma Dorothy's house, in a little neighborhood near the bakery. It's very small, but Grandma has always taken very good care of us," Emily said with pride in her voice. "And your father? Where is he?" The girl's face grew sad. "Daddy left when I was little. Mommy said he had to travel for work, but I don't think he's coming back." Michael clenched his fists, feeling anger growing in his chest. How could a man abandon a family like that? But then he remembered he had no right to judge anyone. After all, he himself had abandoned his sister when she needed him most. "Emily, how did you find out where I work?" Grandma Dorothy told me. "She said you became an important person, that you have a big company. She keeps all the newspaper articles about you," the girl explained, nervously fiddling with the hem of her dress. "All the articles?" "Uh-huh. There's a little box full of newspaper clippings. Grandma always read them to Mommy, even when Mommy got sad and said she didn't want to hear them." Michael felt his heart break. Rebecca had followed his life all these years through the newspapers, while he had tried to completely erase the memory of her from his mind. "And why did your grandmother never try to contact me before?" Emily shook her head. "She did try. Once she came here, but the men at the door said you didn't want to see her. That was a long time ago when I was still a baby." Guilt hit Michael like a stab. He vaguely remembered giving instructions not to receive visits from family members. At the time, he was still too hurt by the fight that had separated them. "Emily, I need to see your mother today. Can you take me to her?" The girl's eyes lit up for the first time since she had entered the room. "Really? Mommy will be so happy. She always talks about Uncle Michael, even when she's very tired." Michael stood up, putting the photo in his suit jacket's inner pocket. "Jennifer, get my car ready. We're leaving now." "Sir, are you sure? What about the meetings?" "The meetings can wait. This is more important than any business," he said, taking Emily's small hand. As they went down in the elevator, Michael tried to mentally prepare himself for the meeting. 20 years, 2 decades without seeing the sister who had been his best friend throughout his childhood and adolescence. "Uncle Michael," Emily said timidly. "Yes, sweetie. Is Mommy going to be mad at me for coming here without her knowing?" Michael squeezed her hand affectionately. "No, Emily. You did the right thing. You are a very brave girl." Michael Anderson's car, a black Cadillac with a private driver, caught everyone's attention on the street when they left the office building. Emily looked impressed at the luxury vehicle. "Wow, Uncle, your car is so nice." "Thank you, little one," said Michael, helping her into the back seat. "Now tell me how to get to Grandma Dorothy's house." During the journey through Boston traffic, Emily shared more details about their lives. Michael discovered that Rebecca had graduated in education, but never managed to work in the field due to a lack of opportunities. She had spent the last few years working as a shop clerk, cleaner, and even a street vendor to support her daughter. "Mommy is very studious," said Emily with pride. "She teaches me everything at home. I already know how to read and write, and she teaches me math too. And do you like to study?" "I like it a lot. Mommy always says that studying is the most important thing in the world, that it's what will help me have a better life." Michael smiled, recognizing in the girl the same determination Rebecca had always shown. His sister had always been brilliant in her studies, getting the best grades in school and dreaming of going to college. When the car entered the neighborhood where Rebecca lived, Michael felt a tightness in his chest. The houses were simple, some needing repairs, and the streets were narrow and without proper pavement. It was a world completely different from the luxury he lived in. "It's there, Uncle. The little yellow house with the flowers in front," Emily indicated, pointing excitedly. Michael looked at the small house and saw that despite its simplicity, it was well kept. There was a small garden with colorful flowers in front, and the windows were clean with white curtains. "She likes flowers," he murmured, remembering how Rebecca always used to tend to their mother's garden when they were young. When they got out of the car, several people from the neighborhood appeared in windows and doorways to see the commotion. It was clear that a car like that was not common in that neighborhood. "Come on, Uncle. Grandma Dorothy is going to be so surprised, said Emily, pulling him by the hand. But when they reached the house door, Emily stopped suddenly. What is it, little one? What if Mommy doesn't want to see you? Sometimes she gets very sad when we talk about the family. Michael knelt in front of the girl, looking into her eyes. Emily, your mother might really be upset with me at first. She and I had a fight a long time ago, over things that I now know weren't important. But I promise I will do everything to fix this, okay? Emily nodded and knocked on the door. Grandma, I'm back and I brought a surprise. The door opened, and an elderly lady with white hair, about 70 years old, wearing a floral apron, appeared. When her eyes met Michael's, she literally froze. My goodness. Michael. Hello, Mrs. Dorothy, he said, emotional upon seeing the woman who had been like a second mother to him and Rebecca. How are you? Mrs. Dorothy began to cry, bringing her hands to her face. My boy, how you've grown, how handsome you've become, she said, unable to control her tears. Emily, what have you done? I brought Uncle Michael to help Mommy, Grandma. Since you always said he was a good person, I decided to look for him. Mrs. Dorothy looked at Michael with a mixture of joy and worry. Michael, my son, I don't know if she will want to see you. All these years, she has suffered so much. I know, Mrs. Dorothy, and I know it's my fault. But I need to try to fix this. Where is she? She's in the bedroom, sleeping. Today she's worse with a high fever, said the lady, wiping her eyes with her apron. A high fever? Mrs. Dorothy, she needs to see a doctor immediately. Oh, my son, we've already taken her to the clinic several times. They give her some medicine, but it doesn't go away. They said she needs some more expensive tests, but we don't have the money. Michael felt the anger grow inside him again. His sister was sick, needing medical care, and he had been living in luxury with no idea. Mrs. Dorothy, that's going to change today. I'm going to take care of everything, he said, determined. Grandma, can I show Mommy's room to Uncle Michael? Asked Emily. Yes, you can, my dear granddaughter, but go slowly, so you don't wake her. Emily guided Michael down a small hallway to a room at the back of the house. The door was slightly ajar, and he could see his sister lying on a simple bed asleep. Rebecca was very thin, with a pale face and her curly hair spread out on the pillow. Even sick and fragile, Michael could still see the cheerful girl she had been in her youth. He approached slowly, trying not to make a sound. When he sat down in the chair next to the bed, Rebecca slowly opened her eyes. For a moment she looked at him without recognition, but when her awareness fully returned, her eyes widened. Michael? She murmured, thinking she was dreaming. Hi, Marie, he said, using the affectionate childhood nickname. Rebecca tried to sit up quickly, but her weakness wouldn't allow it. What? What are you doing here? Your daughter brought me, said Michael, looking at Emily, who was watching everything from the doorway. Emily? What did you do? Asked Rebecca, her voice still weak but already showing concern. I'm sorry, Mommy, but I had to do something. You're very sick, and Grandma Dorothy can't take care of you alone anymore, said the girl, approaching the bed. Rebecca looked at Michael again, and this time there was hardness in her eyes. You can leave, I don't need your help, she said, turning her face away. Marie, please, let me explain. Explain what? That you disappeared from my life when I needed you most? That you never even cared to know if I was alive or dead? She said, and even weak, her voice carried years of hurt. Emily started to cry, seeing the tension between her mother and her uncle. Mommy, don't fight with Uncle Michael. I just wanted to help. Rebecca immediately softened her expression upon seeing her daughter crying. Come here, my princess. Mommy's not mad at you, she said, making an effort to sit up and hug Emily. You just wanted to help, I know. Michael watched the scene, seeing how Rebecca, even sick, prioritized her daughter's well-being. It was the same caring Rebecca he remembered, always putting the people she loved first. Marie, you're right to be mad at me. I messed up badly. But now I want to make things right, he said, trying again. Make things right? Rebecca laughed bitterly. After 20 years you want to make things right. Where were you when I needed a job? Where were you when Emily was born? Where were you when her father left and I was left all alone? Each question was like a stab to Michael's heart. He knew he had failed as a brother, but hearing it from Rebecca made it all more real and painful. "You're right. I wasn't here when you needed me. But I'm here now, and I want to take care of you and Emily." "I don't want your pity, Michael. I've managed all these years without you, and I'll keep managing," said Rebecca, although her voice showed just how tired she was of the struggle. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Emily looked at the two adults and said, with the wisdom that only children possess, "Mummy, remember you always teach me that we have to forgive people when they apologize from the heart? Uncle Michael is here. That means he cares about us." Rebecca looked at her daughter, then at Michael. "Emily, go to the kitchen and ask Grandma Dorothy to make me some tea, please." "But Mom—" "Go on, sweetheart. Your uncle and I need to talk alone." After Emily left, Rebecca looked directly at Michael. "Why did you come, Michael? Really? Was it just out of pity?" "No, Becca. I came because I never stopped thinking about you. All these years, even when I tried to forget, you were always here," he said, touching his chest. "Funny. When I needed you 4 years ago, when I tried to get in touch, you sent word that you didn't want to see anyone from the family." Michael closed his eyes, remembering that time. "I know. I was still very hurt, angry about everything that had happened, but I know that doesn't justify anything." "Hurt by what, Michael? By the fact that I got pregnant? By the fact that I didn't get married before having Emily?" "No, Becca. I never cared about that. I was hurt by the fight, by the horrible things we said to each other, by the way our family fell apart." Rebecca sighed, seeming too tired to keep fighting. "Do you remember what you said to me the day I left home?" she asked. Michael lowered his head. He remembered perfectly the cruel words he had said that day, words that had haunted him for 20 years. "I remember, and I've regretted every word since then. You said I had made my choice, and that now I would have to live with the consequences alone. That you didn't want to see me anymore because I had shamed the family. Becca. And that's what I did. I lived with the consequences alone. I raised my daughter alone. I worked, studied, fought. All alone, because my brother, whom I loved more than anything in the world, had decided that I no longer deserved to be part of his family." Michael began to cry again, unable to contain his emotion any longer. "I'm sorry, Becca. I'm sorry for everything. I was young, stupid, proud, but that doesn't justify what I did to you." Rebecca watched him cry and, for the first time, her expression softened a little. "Michael, do you know why I never got married?" "No? Because I never found anyone who loved me as much as you loved me. We were best friends, siblings, partners in crime. When you rejected me, it was as if a part of me lost the ability to trust anyone completely." Those words hurt more than any accusation could. Michael realized that his reaction had hurt Rebecca in a much deeper way than he had imagined. "But I found a reason to live," she continued, smiling for the first time. "Emily. She is everything to me. She is pure joy, pure kindness, and I won't let anything or anyone hurt her the way I was hurt. Becca, I swear I will never hurt her, and I want to take care of both of you. Let me take you to a good doctor. Let me handle the treatment." "Why, Michael? Why after 20 years do you want to do this?" "Because when I saw that photo when Emily told me you were sick, I realized that I never stopped loving you as a sister, and I realized how much time I wasted out of pride, fear, stupidity." Rebecca was silent for a long moment, just looking at him. "And what if I don't get better, Michael? What if it's too late?" "Don't say that. You will get better. You have to get better. Emily needs you, and I need my sister back." "Your sister never went anywhere," Rebecca said, her voice choked. "She was just waiting for you to remember she existed." Michael stood up and approached the bed. "Can I give you a hug?" Rebecca hesitated for a moment, but then opened her arms. When they hugged, it was as if the 20 years of separation dissolved into tears of relief and forgiveness. "I missed you so much, Becca," Michael murmured. "Me too, bro. Me too. Mrs. Dorothy and Emily appeared at the door at that moment, both crying with emotion at seeing the siblings reconciled. "Now we're talking," said Mrs. Dorothy, wiping her eyes with her apron. "Now this family is complete again." Emily ran to the bed and threw herself into the middle of their hug. "Now we're a real family," she said, beaming with happiness. Michael looked at the two most important people in Rebecca's life and felt a determination growing in his chest. "Becca, tomorrow morning I'm taking you to the best hospital in Boston. We're going to find out exactly what you have and how to treat it. Michael, I don't have the money for—" "Don't worry about money. That's my problem now. You just worry about getting better." "But I can't accept your charity." "It's not charity, Becca. It's an obligation. It's a brother's obligation to take care of his sister when she needs it. It's an obligation I should have fulfilled a long time ago." Rebecca looked at him and saw the sincerity in his eyes. For the first time in 20 years, she wasn't alone in the fight. "Okay," she said finally, "but on one condition." "What?" "After I get better, I want to work. I want to contribute, not just receive help." Michael smiled. That was the Rebecca he knew, always proud and determined. "Deal. But first, you get better." Mrs. Dorothy approached the bed, still emotional. "Michael, my son, you have no idea how much I prayed for this day to come. Every night I asked God for you two to reconcile." "You never gave up on us, did you, Mrs. Dorothy?" said Michael, hugging the woman who had been so important in raising them both. "Never, my son. Family is family, no matter what happens." In the days that followed, Michael completely rearranged his schedule to accompany Rebecca's treatment. He took her to 3 different doctors until they found a specialist who identified the problem, a bacterial pneumonia that had developed into a more serious case due to a lack of proper treatment. "Why didn't you seek medical help before?" asked Michael while they waited for more test results. "With what money, Michael? You think I didn't want to take care of myself? You think I like seeing Emily watching me like this?" replied Rebecca, with a mixture of tiredness and frustration. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. No, it's okay. You need to understand what life is like for someone with no money. When you're worried about paying rent, electricity, food for your daughter, going to a private doctor becomes a luxury." Michael was learning to see the world through Rebecca's eyes, and every lesson was painful. He had spent years complaining about problems he now saw as privileges. The treatment was working. After 2 weeks of proper medication and better food, Rebecca was already much better. Her cheeks had gained color, she was coughing less, and she could stay awake longer. "Uncle Michael!" shouted Emily, running to him when he arrived for his daily visit. "Mommy got up by herself today and even cooked lunch." "Really?" said Michael, smiling at his niece's excitement. "It's true," confirmed Rebecca, appearing in the kitchen doorway with a much healthier expression. "I'm feeling almost normal again." "That's great, Becca. You have no idea how happy I am to see you like this." During those 2 weeks, Michael had spent every day at Mrs. Dorothy's house. He had discovered that Emily was an extremely intelligent child who loved to draw and dreamed of being a teacher, like her mother had wanted to be. "Uncle, do you want to see my drawings?" asked Emily, pulling out an old notebook full of colorful drawings. "Of course I do." Michael flipped through the notebook and was impressed by the girl's talent. There were drawings of the family, the house, the school, and several drawings of him, even before she had met him in person. "Emily, these drawings are beautiful. You have so much talent." "Mommy teaches me. She can draw really well too," said Emily proudly. "Is that so? Rebecca, I didn't know you drew." Mariana blushed. "It's just a hobby." "She has a whole bunch of drawings saved," said Emily, going to get a folder. "Look." Michael was impressed when he saw Rebecca's drawings. They were realistic portraits, landscapes, and various studies of faces. There were even some drawings of him, clearly done from memory. "Rebecca, this is incredible. Why did you never show me?" "When would I have shown you?" she laughed, but without bitterness this time. "You should exhibit these drawings somewhere." "Michael, please, they're just drawings from someone with nothing better to do." "No, they're not. They're works of art," he insisted, examining a particularly beautiful portrait of Mrs. Dorothy more closely. It was then that Michael had an idea. "Rebecca, how about we set up a studio for you?" "A studio?" she asked, thinking the idea absurd. "I'm serious. You have real talent. With some better materials, with a proper space, you could sell your drawings, give lessons." "Michael, that's too much of a dream for me." "Why does it have to be a dream? Why can't you have the good things in life?" Rebecca looked at him for a long moment. "Because I learned that people like me can't dream too high. Life teaches you that." "Then it's time to unlearn that," said Michael, determined. "Rebecca, I have a proposal for you." "What proposal?" "I'm renovating the company building. On the top floor, there's a space that's going to be empty. How about we turn that into a studio for you? You could give drawing lessons, sell your work, even offer classes for underprivileged kids in the area." Rebecca looked at him as if he had gone crazy. "Michael, that's impossible. I don't have the qualifications to teach. I have no business experience. But you have talent and you have heart. We can learn the rest, and about qualifications. How about you go back to school?" "School? Why not? You always wanted to study education, didn't you?" "Well, now you can. And if you want, you can study fine arts too." Rebecca began to cry, but this time they were tears of hope. "Michael, all of this seems like a dream. I'm afraid to believe it and then be disappointed. Rebecca, you raised an amazing daughter by yourself, working 3 different jobs, taking care of a house, studying at night. If that doesn't prove you're capable of anything, I don't know what does." Emily was listening to everything with wide eyes. "Mommy, are you going to be a real teacher? Like you always wanted?" I don't know, sweetie. It's a lot to process. But you're going to try, right?" insisted the girl. Rebecca looked at her daughter, then at Michael, and finally at Mrs. Dorothy, who was watching everything from the kitchen door with a proud smile. "Okay," she said finally. "I'll try." Michael stood up and hugged her, followed by Emily and Mrs. Dorothy. "Now we're talking," said Mrs. Dorothy. "I always knew that girl had a lot of potential." In the months that followed, everyone's life changed drastically. Rebecca enrolled in an education program at a private university, funded by Michael. 3 times a week, she also attended fine arts classes to improve her technique. Emily was enrolled in a private school near Mrs. Dorothy's house, but not before Rebecca had several conversations with her about the importance of staying humble and respecting people from all walks of life. "Emily, you're going to have opportunities that I never had," Rebecca said in one of those conversations. "But I never want you to forget where you came from or to treat people who have less than you poorly." "I know, Mom. Grandma Dorothy always taught me that too." The studio was almost ready. Michael had hired the best professionals to transform the space on the top floor of the building into a combination of an art studio and a classroom. There were large windows that let in a lot of natural light, space for at least 20 students, and a separate section where Rebecca could work on her personal projects. "Rebecca, come see how it turned out," said Michael, taking her to see the finished space. When Rebecca entered the studio, she was speechless. It was much more beautiful and complete than she had dreamed. There were wooden easels, a large table for drawings, shelves full of art supplies, and even a small library with books about artistic techniques. "Michael, this is too wonderful," she said, walking through the space with reverence. "Do you like it?" "I love it. But are you sure all of this is for me?" "Of course I am. Rebecca, you deserve this, and much more." Emily ran through the studio, exploring every corner with curiosity. "Mum, here you'll be able to draw every day. And can I come here after school?" "You can, my dear. In fact, you're going to be my first official student." "Really?" asked Emily, jumping for joy. "Really? And later, we're going to open the doors to other children too." Michael watched the scene with a full heart. Seeing Rebecca and Emily happy was the best reward he could have. 3 months later, Hope Studio was officially inaugurated. Rebecca had decided on that name because, according to her, that place represented a new hope in her life and in the lives of everyone who passed through there. The inauguration was a small but emotional event. Mrs. Dorothy attended, along with some neighbors from the village, Rebecca's college classmates and employees from Michael's company who had volunteered to help with the social project. "Everyone, I wanted to thank you all for being here today," said Rebecca, nervous but radiant. "6 months ago I was sick with no prospects, thinking my life had stopped in time. Today, I'm here living a dream I didn't even know I could dream." She looked at Michael, who was at the back of the room. "My brother taught me that it's never too late to start over. That family isn't just blood, it's a daily choice to care for each other. And that forgiving isn't forgetting what happened, but deciding to build something new on top of the ruins of the past." Everyone applauded, and Michael approached. "Rebecca, I wanted to say something too," he said, picking up an improvised microphone. "For 20 years, I thought success was having a big company, money in the bank, imported cars. But I discovered that true success is having the family together. It's seeing the person you love achieving her dreams. It's being the uncle of an amazing girl who taught me what real courage is." He looked at Emily, who was in the front row next to Mrs. Dorothy. "Emily, you saved our family. If you hadn't had the courage to come to my office that day, I might never have discovered what really matters in life." The girl smiled shyly and waved at him. "And Mrs. Dorothy," Michael continued, "you were the mother my sister needed when I failed as a brother. You took care of her and Emily when I should have. Thank you so much for never giving up on our family." Mrs. Dorothy was crying with emotion, being comforted by the neighbors. "Now I want to make an announcement," said Michael. "Hope Studio will offer free drawing and painting classes for children from low-income families. We will also have a scholarship program for young people who want to pursue an artistic career. Because art is not a luxury, it's everyone's right." The applause was even warmer this time. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like the video and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel. It's a huge help for us who are just starting out. Now continuing, after the inauguration, when they were alone in the studio, Rebecca showed Michael a special drawing she had made. "I want to give this to you," she said, handing him a frame. It was a family portrait. Michael, Rebecca, Emily and Dorothy all smiling and hugging. In the bottom corner it was written, "Family, where everything begins and where we can always return." "Rebecca, this is beautiful," said Michael, visibly moved. "It's for you to put in your office, so you never forget what's truly important again." "I promise I will never forget again." A year later, Hope Studio was already serving more than 50 children per week. Rebecca had graduated with distinction in pedagogy and was pursuing a postgraduate degree in arts education. Some of her artwork had been sold in local exhibitions, and she was becoming known in the city as a promising artist. Emily, now 7 years old, continued to be an excellent student and had discovered that besides drawing, she also had a talent for music. Michael had found a piano teacher for her, and the girl was progressing quickly. "Uncle Michael, do you want to hear the new song I learned?" Emily asked one afternoon when he was visiting the studio. "Of course I do, Princess." Emily sat at the small piano Michael had bought for the studio and played a simple but beautiful song. When she finished, everyone applauded. "Very beautiful, Emily. You're becoming a complete artist," said Michael, proud. "It's just that Mommy always says that art is the language of the soul," replied the girl, repeating a phrase Rebecca often said. "And she's right." Rebecca approached, wiping her hands on a towel after finishing a class. "Michael, I wanted to talk to you about something," she said. "Of course. What is it?" "I was thinking, what if we organized a bigger project, bringing art to other underprivileged communities in the city? You want to expand the studio?" "Not exactly. I was thinking about a non-profit, something that could serve various areas, not just around here." Michael smiled. The entrepreneurial and dreamy Rebecca was back. "Tell me more about this idea." "Well, I've noticed that many children have artistic talent, but never had the opportunity to develop it. And art isn't just drawing and painting. It's music, theater, dance, literature. Imagine if we could create centers in various neighborhoods." "It's an incredible idea, Rebecca. And how would it work?" "We could train art educators, create a basic curriculum, get material donations, and most importantly, integrate art with regular education." Show that art can help children develop in all areas. Michael was silent for a moment, processing the idea. Rebecca, this is a huge project. Are you sure you want to take on this responsibility? Michael, a year ago, I was in a bed, without hope, without any future prospects. If I managed to get here, why can't I dream even bigger? You're right. And you know what? I think this is exactly the kind of project my company should support. Really? Really? What if we created the Hope Foundation? Your non-profit would be one of the main projects of our corporate foundation. Rebecca looked at him with tears in her eyes. Michael, sometimes I still can't believe all of this is real. It is real, Rebecca, and it's just the beginning. 2 years later, the Hope Foundation was already operating in 12 different communities in Boston and the metropolitan area. Rebecca had become a reference in social arts education, giving lectures at conferences and universities. Her story of overcoming adversity inspired other people going through hard times. Emily, now 9 years old, continued to excel in her studies and in the arts. She had participated in a few musical performances, and her paintings had already been displayed in children's art shows. But what made Rebecca proudest was seeing that her daughter maintained her simplicity and kindness, always willing to help other children. Mommy, do you think I can be a teacher like you when I grow up? Emily asked one afternoon while helping Rebecca organize materials for a class. You can be anything you want, my dear. A teacher, an artist, an engineer, a doctor. The whole world is open to you. But I want to help other children like you do. Rebecca stopped what she was doing and hugged her daughter. Then you're already wiser than a lot of grown-ups, because you understand that true happiness comes from helping others. Michael Anderson arrived at that moment, as he did every day after work. He had become an integral part of the family routine, and not a day went by that he didn't see Rebecca and Emily. How were classes today? He asked, kissing Emily's forehead and hugging Rebecca. Very good. We had 3 new children in the little ones group, Rebecca replied. And you? How was your day at the company? Good, but nothing compared to what you all do here. You know, Murray, I was thinking about something. About what? How about if we bought a bigger house? A place where you could live more comfortably, and that had space for Dorothy too. Rebecca was quiet for a moment. Michael, we've already talked about this. I don't want you to feel like you have to support us forever. It's not support, Mari. It's family. Besides, you're already earning your own money with the classes and the NGO. This would be more of a joint investment. Joint investment. Yeah, I would buy the house, you would contribute a part, and we'd split all the expenses. That way Dorothy would have more space. Emily would have a room just for herself. Emily jumped with excitement. A room just for me, with a little table for drawing? With a little table for drawing and even a small piano if you want, said Michael, laughing at his niece's excitement. Rebecca looked at the two of them and smiled. Okay, but on one condition. What? The house has to have a big garden for Dorothy to keep tending to her flowers. Deal. The move to the new house happened 6 months later. It was a nice but not showy house in a middle-class area with 3 bedrooms, a spacious garden, and even a small studio in the back where Rebecca could work from home whenever she wanted. Dorothy, initially resistant to the move, ended up adapting very well. She became the queen of the garden, planting flowers of all kinds and colors. Neighbors often stopped to compliment the garden and chat with the friendly lady. Michael, my boy, I never imagined I'd live in such a beautiful house, she said one afternoon while watering the flower beds. You deserve this and much more, Dorothy. You took care of my family when I failed. Now it's my turn to take care of you. You're a good boy, Michael. You always were. You just needed to mature a little, she laughed, giving him an affectionate pat on the arm. One Sunday, the family was gathered in the garden for lunch, as had become their tradition. Rebecca was putting the finishing touches on a new painting. Emily was playing with a kitten they had recently adopted, and Michael was helping Dorothy set the table. You know everyone, said Michael, looking around at them. I was thinking about something. Uh-oh, Rebecca joked. When you start like that, there's always a surprise. It's a good surprise, I promise. How about if we took a family trip? A trip? Asked Emily excitedly. Yeah, to the beach. A real vacation all together. Oh, Michael, I've never been to the beach, said Mrs. Dorothy shyly. Never? Asked Emily, incredulous. Never, my dear granddaughter. I never had the opportunity. Then it's decided, said Michael. On Emily's next school break, we're all going to the beach, and it will be unforgettable. Rebecca looked at her brother with gratitude. Michael, you know you don't have to do all this for us, right? Becca, I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for myself too, because you are my family, and being with you makes me happy. I love you, bro, said Rebecca, moving closer to hug him. I love you too, Becca. And you know what's the best part? What? This time, it's forever. The trip to the beach was truly unforgettable. Mrs. Dorothy was amazed to see the ocean for the first time, and Emily spent hours playing in the sand and collecting shells. Rebecca took the opportunity to make several drawings of the seaside landscape, and Michael simply relaxed for the first time in years. Uncle Michael, look what I found, shouted Emily, running with a particularly beautiful shell. How beautiful, Princess. Let's take it home so you can remember our trip. I'll keep it forever, she said, hugging the shell to her chest. During the trip, Rebecca received a phone call that would change the course of their lives once again. Becca, you're not going to believe this, she said, hanging up the phone with a shocked expression. What is it? Everyone asked at the same time. It was from the Creative Vision Gallery in New York. They want to do a solo exhibition of my work. Really? Shouted Michael, jumping to his feet. Really? They saw some photos of my paintings in a magazine about art education and got interested. They want me to go to New York to talk to them. Emily ran to hug her mother. Mommy, you're going to be famous. Slow down, Princess. It's just a conversation. It might not lead to anything. It will, Becca, said Michael, emotional. Your work is beautiful. You deserve this recognition. Michael, I'm scared. What if it doesn't work out? What if I'm not talented enough? Becca, you have more than enough talent, and more importantly, you have a story to tell through your art. That is much more valuable than pure technique. The exhibition in New York was an absolute success. Rebecca sold all the paintings on display, and several important people from the art world showed interest in her work. Art critics wrote glowing reviews, highlighting not only the refined technique, but also the emotionality and authenticity of her works. Mommy, you're in the newspaper, shouted Emily, running with the newspaper in her hand. It was a big article about the exhibition, with a photo of Rebecca next to one of her best-selling paintings, a portrait of Mrs. Dorothy tending her garden. Look here what it says, said Michael, reading aloud. The artist Rebecca Anderson brings a unique sensitivity to her works, the fruit of a life marked by overcoming and the rediscovery of family values. Her portraits capture not only the image, but the soul of her characters. That's beautiful, my daughter, said Mrs. Dorothy, emotional. You managed to turn all that pain into beauty. We managed, Grandma, all of us together. With the success of the exhibition, several opportunities arose for Rebecca. Invitations for other exhibitions, partnership proposals with galleries, and even a proposal to write a book about her story and her art education method. Becca, are you sure you want to write this book? Asked Michael one afternoon as she was organizing her notes. Yes, I am. You know why? Why? Because if our story can inspire one person not to give up, if it can help one family to reconcile, if it can show someone that it's never too late to start over, then it's worth telling. And how are you going to talk about our fight? About the years we spent apart? Rebecca thought for a moment. I'm going to tell the truth. That we made mistakes, that we wasted precious time, that we hurt each other. But I'm also going to say that true love always finds a way back. And what about Emily? How will you explain her courage? Oh, that's easy, smiled Rebecca. I'll say that sometimes God uses the littlest angels to perform the biggest miracles. Emily, who was drawing at a nearby table, overheard the conversation. Mommy, am I an angel? You are my angel, Princess, my brave angel who saved our family. And is Uncle Michael an angel too? Uncle Michael is an angel who took a little while to figure out how to fly, laughed Rebecca. Hey, protested Michael, laughing too. But now I've learned how to fly properly. The book, Can I Show You a Photo, was launched 2 years later and became a bestseller. Rebecca was invited to give lectures all over the country, always carrying the message that family is the foundation of everything and that it's never too late to ask for forgiveness and start over. During one of these lectures in Washington, D.C., a woman in the audience raised her hand. "Rebecca, my daughter and I had a fight 5 years ago and we haven't spoken since. Do you think there's still time to fix it?" Rebecca looked at her kindly. "Ma'am, if you're here asking that question, it's because your heart already knows the answer. There's always time to fix things, as long as there's true love on both sides." "But what if she doesn't want to see me?" "Then you insist. You find a way. You send a letter, a message, you ask someone to mediate. The important thing is not to give up, because family love is stronger than any pride." After the lecture, the woman approached Rebecca. "Thank you. You gave me the courage to try one more time. I hope it works out. And remember, sometimes we need to take the first step, even when we think it's not our fault." 6 months later, Rebecca received a letter from that woman saying that she had reconciled with her daughter and was now a grandmother to a little granddaughter she didn't even know. The letter ended like this: "Thank you for teaching me that love always finds a way back home." That night, Rebecca showed the letter to Michael and Emily during dinner. "Did you see? Our story helped another family get back together," she said, moved. "That's great, Mommy," said Emily. "You're helping a lot of people with your book." "We are helping, Princess. Because this story is ours, it belongs to all of us." Michael looked at the two most important people in his life and felt immense gratitude. "You know something?" he said. "What?" they asked together. "I was thinking that maybe it's time for me to do something different with my life." "What do you mean?" asked Rebecca, intrigued. "I'm thinking about selling the company." "Michael, why?" "Because I want to dedicate myself fully to the Hope Foundation. I want to expand the project, create more centers, help more families. The company gave me money, but the foundation gives me purpose." Rebecca was silent for a moment, processing the information. "Are you sure about this?" "Absolutely. Jen, for years I worked just to make money, to be successful, to impress other people. Now I want to work for a cause that really matters. What if you regret it?" "Impossible. You know why? Because I discovered that real success isn't what you build, it's the legacy you leave behind. And I want to leave a legacy of reunited families, of children with opportunities, of people who didn't give up on their dreams." Emily got up from her chair and went to hug her uncle. "Uncle Michael, you are the best person in the world." "No, Princess. You're the one who taught me to be a better person." "How?" "When you had the courage to come to my office with that photo, you showed me that sometimes we need to be brave to save the people we love." The sale of the company was finalized a year later, and Michael dedicated himself entirely to the Hope Foundation, which now operated in 50 communities across Massachusetts. Rebecca continued her artistic career, but never abandoned her social work, combining art and education in a unique way. Emily, at 12 years old, was already a precocious artist, mastering not only drawing and painting, but also the piano and even writing. She had written a small book of children's stories, illustrated by herself, which would be launched soon with the proceeds going to the Hope Foundation. "Emily, did you read Grandma Dorothy the story you wrote about her?" asked Rebecca one afternoon. "Not yet. I'm going to read it to her tonight. She's going to be so proud." Mrs. Dorothy, at 75 years old, remained active and happy. She had become a kind of official grandma for the Hope Foundation, always present at events and caring for the younger children with the affection that only grandmothers know how to give. "Rebecca, my dear," she said one afternoon while they were organizing materials for a new class, "have you ever stopped to think about everything that has changed over these years?" "I think about it every day, Grandma Dorothy. When that tiny little girl came home saying she had gone to look for her uncle, I was so scared. But just look how it all turned out." Emily has always been special. Since she was very little, she had this thing about wanting to fix everything, to take care of everyone. "Just like her mother," smiled Mrs. Dorothy. "Oh, I don't know about that." "Yes, I do. You've always been like that, since you were a child. Always concerned about others, always wanting to help. That's why I never gave up believing that you and Michael would work things out one day. You never told us that. I didn't need to. I knew your love was bigger than any fight. I was just waiting for the right time for it to show itself. That night, during a family dinner, Michael made a special announcement. "Everyone, I have some news to share." "What news?" asked Emily, always curious. "You know the Hope Foundation has become a national reference in social art education, right?" "We know," confirmed Rebecca. "Well then, I received a proposal from the Department of Education to expand the project across the whole country. They want to create the National Arts Hope Program." "Really?" shouted Rebecca and Emily together. "Really? It would be a huge project. Art education centers in all regions of the US, training for specialized teachers, specific teaching materials. A real dream. And are you going to accept?" "Only if you all agree to embark on this with me. Because it would mean a lot more work, lots of travel, much greater responsibility." Rebecca looked at Emily, then at Mrs. Dorothy, and finally at Michael. "You're crazy if you think we wouldn't agree," she said, smiling. "So you accept?" "We accept anything, as long as we're together," said Emily, speaking for the whole family. End of story. What an incredible story, isn't it? Little Emily taught us that sometimes we need to have the courage to save the people we love, and that a simple photo can be the key to reconnecting a family. The love between Michael and Rebecca proved that it's never too late to forgive and start over. Now tell us, what did you think of this reconciliation story? Do you believe Emily made the right decision by going to look for her uncle? Leave your opinion here in the comments. We really want to know what you think. And don't forget to give it a special like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other touching stories like this one.